And those people who are actually doing it are not even white people. Because
Mm-hmm.
white people don't want to be white people under these new, they don't have that kind of money. When King was marching for the Poor People's March, that wasn't just for black folks. You
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, that was for white people too. They didn't have no money. FDR was had a polio or something. He had a
Yeah.
debilitating disease. All of these taxes when you go for disability and all that stuff, that had to do with human beings having these problems. But
Yeah.
one of the things that the Republicans do, they project this illusion that we are just so healthy,
Yeah.
because Wanda and I remember when the retirement age was 55.
Absolutely. And then
You
when
know,
I got to be 55, it became 65. I was like, what
yes, uh-huh, yeah.
way is
So
this?
But
they'll work us to death.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
even get this idea though. Number one, I can speak to they don't want you to see 75. So that's the point. Uh your healthcare is terrible in America. Worst healthcare, one of the worst healthcare systems in the world, at least in a first world country. In America, I wouldn't even consider it a first world country, but that's my own liberal way of looking at life. But that's me. But when you have Republicans, and I don't want to even focus on them. Let's focus more on conservative traditionalists because we have them in the Democratic Party. For one,
Mm-hmm.
Paul Vallis. I digress. Uh, and he's good in his own ways and bad in his own ways, as is everybody else. But you have to really get to the idea of the root cause, the root drive for them. Very seldomly do you see it. Very seldom do you understand until they've done what they've done. Donald Trump made his inherently clear, where he decided that it would be his goal to ruin the Republican Party. The Republican Party was already on the decline because if you haven't noticed, the reason they're putting this legislation and shuffling, put this legislation in act is to try to conserve what little part of old America they can. But they don't realize the more you restrict, the more people rebel. The
That's right.
more you cover, the more people want to see.
That's right.
You
It's
could
so
have held
true.
on to whatever you had and been fine. But now people are getting sick and tired of the new restrictions. So now when these 13 and 14-year-olds down in Florida try to figure out why Rosa Parks' race can't be mentioned in their textbooks, then they look her up and say, "Oh, Rosa Parks is not some white woman who decided that she wanted to sit in the front of the bus today." And they understand they don't understand why she couldn't sit in the back of the bus because you take racial you just take the facts out.
What that is a direct attack on the country itself, because
Yeah.
that's not African American history. That's American history.
That's
I'm
American
sorry,
Yeah,
history. Yeah. Hey, hey,
because
hey. Let's see. Jerome, welcome to the show. Babette, welcome to the show. Sandra, welcome to the show. You guys got to jump in because we have just gone kaplunk with this topic. Let's Trump's let's make America great again. I mean, what made him think that it was great to begin with for folks that look like me? I mean, we've always had a struggle. So when was it great? I want him to tell me when it was great. What say you, Babette? What say you, Jerome? Somebody, come on, you three. Got some input.
Hello.
Hello, Babette.
Hey. It's a challenge. It's a real big challenge because when there was a lot of Black people living in the same areas, whether it was the West Side, the South Side, or whatever, we were contained. Basically, and where people were contained, they were more self-sufficient. You had almost everything you needed self-contained within the place. You had the contractors, you had people that sold things door to door that people needed. They bought fish from people door to door. They bought cleaning products. They bought cosmetics. They that was going on, and people bought from one another. They looked forward to having to be a regular customer there. They had the wolves that had hotels. They hired people that came in from outside, and they made sure that people that came in, if they didn't have like families, like the people from like North Carolina, they came in. They usually stayed with somebody else that was from North Carolina. They slept on the floor if they had to, shared bed if they had to, and they worked with each other's business till that business got profitable, and then they help another one set one up. We don't have that kind of mentality. First thing they want to do is take their money somewhere else. Now, I want to tell you that probably all of us have done that at some time now, but there was a time when we weren't accepted and we did it. And people, the kids there, you didn't have all the craziness that you have now because they could see people looking like them, making money, creating things. They could have people in the neighborhood that could give jobs to not just their family, but to other people's families because people shop with them. Now, so the question is, what is it that we need to do to reposition ourselves for things? For example, we should have I just throw a couple of examples, is that if people are not able to buy property by itself, maybe people can start some type of group to buy property in our areas. Because everybody is like somebody said, they're in there. They don't look like us. They're not going to hire our kids. They're not going to hire us in most cases. And then when they get finished getting their money, they take their money outside. They're not buying from anybody else in there that looks like the people that are in the neighborhood. The Hispanics, they're almost 90%. They deal with their own people. They set up, they clean up areas. They don't go out to just in general to go out to buy everything. Now some of the younger kids do, but in general, you don't see the Pilsen area where they had, not the Pilsen area, but over here on 18th Street and stuff. When a lot of those Hispanics started moving in over there, it was a lot of burnt out buildings, boarded up buildings. Now you don't see that, and those people go to those businesses first. On the north side, over there, while it's not a lot of Blacks living over there, the people over there, they can walk to the store to get almost anything they need, including underwear. What do we have in our neighborhoods that we can do anything with? So even with some of those big box stores over there, they still primarily do business with one another first, and things they can't find, then they'll go to someplace like that. So we need to look at ways that we can get the real estate up. Like, for example, for me, trying to find a wheelchair accessible apartment on the south side, it's almost void. I mean, I don't know about the west side either. I haven't been looking that much on the west side, but I can tell you it's not much downtown either. But I can tell you in our area, I haven't been able, unless you're going into a state or federal building that's for seniors or the disabled, are you going to be able to find something like that? And if you're not willing to live in there, then you don't have any options except going somewhere else. Before kids got pregnant, they sent them away to another family member somewhere or whatever. Now everybody's at school, pregnant, and the next girl is saying, "Oh, I want me a baby too." You see, it's just so many things. I mean, it's so many things that happen. To undo this, it's going to really take people starting to work together. Some of the people had their stuff vested out way out somewhere. they're just going to have to, they don't have to move, but they need to get involved in maybe buying a second property inside the area. Maybe you have people putting together these little trusts where they can help buy some property. But then you got the next thing about buying, because people will say, oh, this costs more over here than it costs over here. Yeah, because they have a number of different stores of the same type. And when they buy in gross. So they get a lesser amount so they can offer a lesser price. Where most Black stores and stuff are unique. And so when I say unique, I'm by themselves. So when they're buying, they have to buy at a higher price. And they say, I ain't gonna spend that, I can spend less over here. So we got a lot of issues we gotta deal with. It's not gonna happen overnight, but we do need to talk together more. We need to not ostracize anybody wherever they are. There have been other people in their families or other families that are in those same situations. So how do we get back to where we have a lot of communication? I just got off the internet listening to a church service. And the church service said they have to have a summer school where they can teach these kids back about their history, about what they need to do. And it's not being wrong to teach them that, because a lot of the churches help people survive. But if they think that they think that they're privileged, they're not privileged. And when they get treated a different way, or somebody said we need to all do this, and they know it's wrong, and they do it just because the other kids are doing it that don't look like them, then they're the ones that get caught. They're the ones that get fingered, and the other ones, their families can usually get them out of it.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to say is that at one time, when kids got to the age of 18, if they had any infractions under them, when they were under that, like shoplifting, petty burglary or whatever, their slates were wiped clean. Long as they didn't have no, what do you call those things? The major things going on, felonies or anything.
Felonies, yeah.
Right. But nowadays, I understand, and a number of states, I don't know if it's here, that unless you purposely check their records and get those things off in our community, they don't come off. They still come off in a lot of the white areas. So you going to apply for a job, you done been through college and everything, and you say, ask you, have you been ever had a felony? And you say no. Then they come back 2-3 years later, they said, you lied. What? I never had a felony. No, that was just this. You can't prove it then because it's been around. They done put you in as a felony because you didn't take it off. In their community, they take it off. Now I'm letting you know, people that have bachelor's and doctorate degrees that might have had, petty break-in, petty, nobody got hurt of shoplifting and stuff like that. They actually, in most of our communities, if you don't have nobody that's checked that and stuff before 18, you come in there and you keep going and not checking that stuff, you can find out you can have all the what do you call it? All the education and degrees you want. But you would be treated like a criminal when you go to apply. Not only do you have a felony, but then they'll be telling everybody. And how do you explain something like that?
That's so true. That's so true. Jerome, Sandra, any comments about Make America Great Again?
Well, the first thing I want to say is, hi, good evening.
Good evening.
The statement, just like 45 years has always been, he's a thief and has always been a thief. He actually took that statement from Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was the first one to make that statement, but he was talking at the time when we were facing a lot of inflation. He was talking about it from an economic standpoint. It had nothing to do with culture. It had nothing to do with race, gender. This was strictly because of inflation had took over. We had a super inflation situation. He took it and put his natural racist spin on it. And he also, I don't like to give him credit for anything, but I have to give him credit for knowing, and which he's been around the professionals that he has paid to do this. He used what the marketing industry has learned a long time ago about people. You can just throw some stuff out there, and a vast majority of the population, they're gonna grab onto it in a negative light, especially when things are going rough. Right now is a great time if anybody wants to stir up trouble or get a bunch of people angry, and even call another insurgents. I mean, because he made a comment the other day. Was it yesterday? TJ, what was that crazy stuff he said?
I stated it. He said protest, 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 because he said he was going to be arrested yesterday.
See, he sends out these, and they're not even subliminal messages, but they're codes for his followers to let them know to become combative and aggressive. And I blame him because I do think of him as being demonic in nature, but I more so blame people for being so weak. Oh, they used to have this thing for when we would do the education thing. They would say, when the fundraising, they would say, I think it would say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Mm-hmm. They don't have that out there anymore. They need to bring it back. Because again, not only people our age, but people even immediately under us, they're not thinkers. And they're quick to follow a bunch of misrepresentation and miseducation in a New York Minute, because they're so weak and they want to be, accepted so badly, and they really hate themselves so much, so they will follow almost anybody or anything just because they get attention. And that's kind of scary. And I'm not really sure exactly where we're going to be headed for, because TJ touched on a lot of it. Babette made a really good point with saying that they need to bring things back where you can buy and shop in your own area. But that means the Black community at large has to think more of being Black in America than what they think of being Black in America now. And it is sad, because my grandparents and great-grandparents, they own property and had things. I'm not familiar with this thing that gets depicted a lot on television as to Blacks not having, and Blacks always being scrubbing the floors. And that's not a depiction of a good depiction of what goes on in the Black community at large. Yes, you have people who scrub floors. Yes, you have people who lived in poverty, but you have whites living the same way. You have whites that were also slaves during the same time Blacks were slaves. But again, we go back to education. Not only African-American history, but let's just do even US history to begin with, and make sure that it's accurate, and they don't just check out pieces or put something out there in order to control America, as they do, because like TJ said earlier, who determines the curriculum in the schools? One time, Plano, Texas was the only place Chicago, I'm gonna speak for Chicago because I know they were doing it. They were buying their educational books from one place in Plano, Texas. And we kept saying, wait a minute, who said that this is the book that you need to put out? And again, nobody could actually come up with what committee, what board, what individual or group of individuals determined that this was the book and this was the proper educational material that should have been used here in Chicago. And so what they finally did after that became an issue and they couldn't answer, do you know the fools didn't buy any books for, at least a decade. I had kids that were high schoolers, and the first graders were still using the books that the high schoolers had used when they were in first grade. Nothing had been updated. TJ, did you have a book too? Somebody had a book where the last president in there was Bill Clinton.
A lot of the times it's either Bush or Bill Clinton.
And that was terrible. That's not acceptable. But guess what? Did the Black community complain? No, they did not. And that's the kind of stuff that needs to stop. But again, I agree. I don't know when America was really great, quote unquote, for any minority at all. I've never seen that time. I don't have any witness to that, because even the Blacks who were quote unquote wealthy during that time, or again, even in the 1800s and early 1900s, they earned what they had. They fought for what they had. It was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that gave them the results of the fruits of their labor. So nobody said it was great ever. So they need to stop giving him credit. And as far as Paul Vallis using that terminology again, I think that's a red flag. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's a red flag because,
Just-
again, you really are not who you are portraying yourself to be. That's
Yeah.
my only
To-
comment.
To circle. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, TJ.
Oh, okay. I was saying to circle back and to bring it back to the even just Donald Trump period, because he is the topic. When you say about Ronald Reagan, he doesn't even embrace the notable parts of Reagan's presidency. He does not try to embody, and because Republicans, they love to say that Ronald Reagan was the epitome of this conservative, when really Ronald Reagan didn't even know what was going on. But he didn't even embrace, and Donald Trump didn't know what was going on either. I still believe that he has some type of mental deficiency or something that is really taking his judgment far off where it could ever be. And maybe he just never had good judgment. But I just want to say that he's never been the person that he's portrayed himself to be. He's never, and he's always said who he was and shown something different. He's always said, "Well, I respect women," but then you say crazy things, like very openly misogynistic things, to your campaign opponent who is a woman. And yet we say, well, because it was allowed on mainstream media. Well, guess what? The only mainstream media that endorsed him, literally, we all know, we knew this before when they got sued the first time, that they were lying. They literally said they were paid actors. Well, here we go with the January 6th investigation. Comes to find out, Tucker Carlson and all of the other people at Fox said they can't stand him. So we have to get out of this, and like I said earlier, they feed into this cult mentality because they are the state media for Donald Trump. They were, and Democrats do it too. CNN, MSNBC, CBS, all of these organizations, they all feed into whatever the party that they most closely affiliate with wants them to do, and it's cultistic on both sides. I'm not dying for no party. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not dying for the Democratic Party. I don't know these people like that, and they are not any better because they lied to us too.
Yeah.
They get the majority. They've had a trifecta, and they did the same thing. If they didn't create the legislation, but they allowed it to pass, and if they didn't allow it to. They didn't introduce legislation to overturn it. The Senate does not have to have a filibuster. They don't. But because they are getting paid to provide a false narrative to people, it's only benefit to allow us to think that they have to have one.
Mm-hmm. Well, TJ,
but then they go with the same dude.
You have given us such insight, man. I mean, I don't know about you all, but this young man is, I keep saying I need 4 or 5 more like him. And then we can take this media and turn this country around, because we need to listen to what these young adults are saying. They are our next presidents. They are our next senators. They are our next everything. So we have to pour all of our knowledge into them and help them be the best they can be. And if you just listen to what this brother said tonight, you know he's well on his way to being the leader, somebody's leader. Thank you, TJ, for sharing so much this evening. I really, really appreciate it. I learned a lot. You and your grandmother, y'all a team for real. She gonna bring the information and you gonna research it and confirm it. I love it. I love it. Welcome to the show, Jerry. Didn't get to hear from you but we were talking about the comment that Trump always made, let's make America great again. And we were trying to figure out how he did that for Black people. Would you like to make a comment?
To sort of bring it all together. Yeah, it's like just dog whistling for the people that, you know, that believe that downgrading other people will uplift them.
Yeah.
It's been pulled over and over again, and one that does not work for anybody. But just to, I don't know how much you guys have been talking about Paul Vallas tonight, but just want to just say that certainly making America or even Chicago great again does not involve repeating a name like Paul Vallas. And what I think largely being done is, you know, ignoring his record as a hitman all over the country. And I'm not completely understanding why that's not being brought up on another level, other than what you guys have talked about, which is that the media is, you know, controlled by about 6 companies, all of the dominant media, because Dallas has been a hitman for a very long time, and there is no way that we should not be seeing more of a discussion about how many have went down under his.
Say it, sister. Say it.
How many jobs? How many unions? I mean, this is the hitman. I mean, even I know in Chicago public schools, the cafeterias were revamped and they were handed down to a few. They were unionized. SEIU jobs were handed down to individuals in a corporate way. I mean, he has destroyed the jobs of thousands and upon thousands of people, but I don't see much being said about it. So I'm not completely sure why that's not being done. But that's sort of just what I wanted to say.
Wow. That's dynamite. Folks, we're at the close of our show. Jerry, we're gonna have you come back and tell us a little bit more about what you've researched and discovered.
I'd like to go through. I really would like to do a show about Paul Vallas's hits. We could just
hey. TJ, thank you again. Jerome, didn't hear anything. I don't think we heard from you at all. Were you listening? Do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yeah, I've listened. I was actually in another meeting. I'm sorry. The topic is very, very important. And what I got from it was that, as you know about my style, is that we need to be teaching our young people so that they can be uplifted on what that young brother has shared. That was some good stuff.
Yeah,
he's a little bit more involved than I am. You know, I've been doing this a long time. So maybe we can get him to come on our show.
Yes. I offered this brother the opportunity to come and work with Chicago Communicator. You know, he's a senior in high school, and
he's in high school. How old is he?
TJ, speak to the man.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm doing other things as well.
How old are you?
I'm 17.
Well, is he Southside? We need a 17-year-old.
Hey, well, okay, hold on. Give me 1 second. I want to provide my email. Give me a second.
Sure. I'll get his information to you. I have his information. I've been knowing this young man most of his life, and I would love to get him involved. I've been trying to get him involved, and so I'm working on it. But I'll send you his contact information as well.
Sounds good.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're closing, but come back tomorrow. We're gonna do woman to woman, and we probably need to continue this discussion on what Make America Great Again did for Black people. And Jerry, you come back and tell us what you know about Paul Vallas. And hey, Karen, you know, I know that you are an educator, and I could see you and TJ debating this this life that we're living with this illusion that our past president had about making America great again. Let's see what we can do about making him understand that America is great when we make it great. We got to make it great for our people. So let's work on that. Let's work on that. Thank you for joining.
Definitely. See you later.
See you
Thank you.
later, everybody.
All right,
Bye.
good night.